Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Martin Kofuchan, major in medical science. Here are the topics we're going to talk about today: the osteoporosis in women after menopause. To start with, let's talk about, we find out that why we're interested in this topic, because we saw that here are the results from the website. We saw that the female had the tendency, have high chance having bone loss than the man. So we are going to interest in the topic of postmenopausal osteoporosis. To start with, what is osteoporosis? Let me do an introduction. Osteoporosis is a disease induced bone loss and fractures. Here are the symptoms, including severe pain, deformity of joint, and also secondary complications that results in death. There are two major types of osteoporosis, including the postmenopausal osteoporosis and a bone density loss due to normal aging. When we need to know more about the mechanisms, let's talk about the normal bone physiology. To start with, the normal as the most common form of osteoporosis, initially when estrogen production is deficient following the menopause, caused by the decrease of plasma estrogen level during the premenopause. Why women tend to have a higher chance to developing osteoporosis? Because they have lighter and thinner bones than male, also they tend to live longer. Here are the bone physiology. In normal physiology, bone can renew itself to maintain the bone strength. Also, mineral homeostasis is achieved during all the bone formation process. For the osteoclast, this type of bone cells continuously resolving and age the bones and remove all the damaged bones from the region. Also, osteoblasts reform new bone tissue in the affected site. When under the influence of withdrawal of estrogen, osteoclasts remove excessive bone without adequate formation of the bones. Here are the four. Let's talk about why estrogen is so important for the health of the bone in a woman. To start with, there are four major functions of estrogen to three types of bone cells, including osteocytes, osteoblasts, and osteoclasts. To start with, the first function is inhibit the activation of bone remodeling and the initiation of new basic multicellular units, BMUs. Also, the second, inhibit differentiation and promotes apoptosis of osteoclasts in order to maintain the bone mass by lower the bone resorption rate. The third one is suppress cell regeneration of early mesenteric progenitors in order to arrange the newly formed bone cells. And the fourth one is prevent apoptosis of osteoblastic cells in order to maintain the bone cells at the cellular level. After talking about how estrogen works, let's talk about the mechanisms behind osteoporosis by Dennis.
Thank you, Martin. I'm on the team Dennis. One of the most important factors that affects the bone density is the estrogen. Estrogen as a sex hormone is essential to female bone health and promotes the activity of the osteoblast. And generally, when the estrogen deficiency and the osteoblast activity is decreasing, and the cell decay and regeneration rate and the process will be disrupted. And then the osteoblast and activity will significantly lower than the osteoclast activity. And then the bone absorption rate will significantly greater than formation rate, and then the osteoporosis occurs. And during the menopause, by the effects of estrogen, the calcium excretion will be rising. And here's some statistics about the increased calcium needs during the menopause. When calcium absorption isn't enough, with the effects of estrogen deficiency will result in osteoporosis. Here's the major and the results with the estrogen deficiency. Estrogen deficiency will induce the bone loss and increase in production of cytokines, and there will be an imbalance between RANKL and OPG. RANKL is a better than a member of the tumor necrosis factor superfamily, and it has been identified to affect the immune system and control the bone regeneration and remodeling. And it will bind with the OPG and control the cell proliferation. And the estrogen deficiency also stimulates the thermic T cells, output amount up to around 50% more than more normal. So undergo the complex mechanism in this picture, the bone resorption is significantly increased. Here's some cytokines that are related to the estrogen deficiency. Now the TNF-alpha is can increase the stimulus cell production of RNKL and MCSF. MCSF can bind to receptors on osteoclasts, inducing the differentiation and increase the bone resorption rate, upregulate the plasma calcium level. And these cytokines contribute to pathogenesis of bone loss, osteoclast activation, and osteoblast inhibition. And the intraleukins can also stimulate the T cell and produce osteoclast trances and cytokines, such as the RANKL. And also there is NKF gamma, which can directly boost the osteoblast formation and activate the T cells.
I'm Koyi Zhang Ximen, and I'm going to show you the major cellular response process. First, the remodeling cycle is initiated. It will remove non-viable cell remain and surrounding tissue, or a lacuna may remain empty. It will become mineralized and or lost its patency. Second, integrity and three-dimensional organization of the bone cell network change in disease stage. The organization of osteocyte network is changed. And lastly, the disconnect between the ability to adapt through remodeling and the ability to bear the functional loads. It will predisposing itself to fracture and exacerbating the healing process.
So we talk about, I am Chen Jerry. So we have talked about a lot of cellular response because of the osteoporosis. So is osteoporosis is an inflammatory process. Based on the article we found for the major resource for our project, it's mentioned about that it is a coronary inflammation. However, we cannot 100% believe the information from the internet. So we can look about the mechanism of the coronary inflammation to see whether there is enough evidence to support our claim. First of all, in coronary inflammation, macrophages is the dominant cell in coronary inflammation reaction. It is responsible for the tissue impure in the coronary inflammation by secreting some mediators. First of all, the macrophages will undergo classical activation to become an activated macrophages M1, which will release some cytokines, some TNF-alpha factor, or some chemokines to promote the inflammation. So we have talked about the IL-1, IL-6 as cytokines and TNF-alpha factor, which will upregulate the CRP, the C-reactive protein in the liver. The high level of the CRP will bind to the phosphococaine receptor in the target site, which will promote the inflammation to occur. At the same time, that CRP protein will be regarded as a sensitive marker, which will occur the acute phase response, for example, like fever. So we have enough evidence to support our claim that osteoporosis is a coronary inflammation. So it's a colocalization of the regional inflammation. So here are some factors which will increase the chance of getting osteoporosis. For example, like HIV infection, immunological dysfunction, and rheumatoid arthritis. So how about when inflammation occurs? How our body to heal us? So due to the osteoporosis of the bone loss, then we have a higher chance to get fracture. Once the bone breaks, so the proliferating cytoblasts will be released here to form, and then the fibrinogens will be released and with the connective tissue to become a cellulose. So it is so-called a primary bone, and then it will accumulate and become the secondary bone with the cartilage, and then we will have the bone is connected. So after the inflammatory process, we can know that the osteoporosis is one of the type 4 hypersensitive immune disease. The mechanism of the type 4 hypersensitive disease is that the activated T lymphocytes will release the cytokines to cause the inflammation, which is the same as the osteoporosis. And to cause the cell destruction, the typical sample is a rheumatoid arthritis.
As mentioned above, rheumatoid arthritis is a typical example between the link of inflammation and osteoporosis. It will cause bone loss in joints and over the skeleton. It will release pro-inflammatory cytokines like interleukin-1, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and then cartilage and bone destruction will be caused. The disease activity is an independent risk factor for osteoporosis in rheumatoid arthritis. And here show the photo of the normal joint and the rheumatoid arthritis joint. And the primary symptom of rheumatoid arthritis include pain, swelling, stiffness, and in the joint. The unique characteristic is tend to affect the joints on both sides of the body rather than only being in the one side. Hypersensitivities. Female who over 60 and taken in medication Foxamax and have osteopenia have the high risk of to have this disease. Here are the reports of the hypersensitivity in osteoporosis reports. And here are the statistical references. The first show that the gender of people who have osteoporosis and experience hypersensitivity. We can see that female have 94% of having the above disease, and it indicates that female have a higher risk than male. The second research showed that the age of people who have osteoporosis and experience hypersensitivity. And in the age group of 50 to 59 and over 60 years old have the dominant group, and we can see that the higher age will lead to the higher risk of having the above disease. The top symptom for these people should be, the first one is fall, and the second is joint pain, etc.
I'm Pauline Wong. Now I will talk about the vitamin C and vitamin D deficiency and calcium imbalance. It will lead to the osteoporosis. The calcium, we can find it from our blood and extracellular fluids and mostly in our bones. Also, it is a building block for our bones, and the calcium can obtain from our diet and absorbed in our small intestines by active transport and diffusions. Also, the serum calcium level can regulate by vitamin D and parathyroid hormones. For the vitamin D, it is an important nutrient which can regulate calcium level in our body by increase the absorption of calcium from intestinal lumen. And the calcium will be reabsorbed in convoluted tubules in nephrons and activate osteoplasts to secrete some RANKL, which can generate the bones. And finally, vitamin D can raise the serum calcium level. Also, if without enough vitamin D, our body will take calcium from skeletons, and our skeleton bones will be weakened.
I'm Monhyuk Kwan. After menopause, elderly have a higher chance of suffering from calcium and vitamin D imbalance. For the PTH, which is a protein hormone, is responsible to changes in serum ionized calcium levels. Drop in serum calcium level triggers the secretion of PTH, via reduced binding to the calcium sensing receptors. As a result, a rise in vitamin D levels suppress the PTH secretion. Also, the vitamin D and calcium deficiency triggers the secondary hyperthyroidism, which increases the rate of bone remodeling to maintain a normal serum calcium levels. Moreover, vitamin D deficiency will lead the body to take calcium from the skeleton, which leads to consequent acceleration of bone loss. As a result, the imbalance between resorption and formation of bone will accelerate bone tissue loss.
So for the treatment for post-menopause osteoporosis, hormone therapy can be used in prevent and evaluate the increase of bone loss. And it's recommended for post-menopause women with rapid bone loss due to the lack of estrogens. The estrogen is given to promote the activities of osteopaths, so the osteopaths will promote and maintain the bone formations. However, the therapy have to take more than 6 months. If more than 6 months, since if the treatment therapy times as is longer, the drawback or side effects will have greater side effects, like some disease, serious disease like breast cancer, gallbladder disease, heart disease, stroke, and blood clotting. So it have some more preventions before we get the diseases better.
Here are the preventions of postmenopausal osteoporosis. First of all, regular exercise program which makes the bone and muscle stronger and help to prevent bone loss. Also, intake of food with high calcium level which helps in building bone tissue and maintaining bone strength. Moreover, intake of calcium and vitamin D supplement. For people aged from 57 to 70 are advised to have vitamin D intake 400 to 800 IU per day, and doctor prescription is required as to prevent overdose. And no smoking, smoking will cause the body to produce less estrogen. Lastly, people should limit the alcohol drink as high levels of alcohol can damage bones by chemical interactions. And this is the end of our presentation. Thank you.